So, like I say, it's usually associated with that. Also, one thing you got to be careful of, and this is something I don't know how to tell you to avoid it, because none of us are neutral. I remember one time at lunchtime I had some really frustrating things happen to me. And I noticed after I got back from lunch, the next 3 patients I found frustration in every one of them. Now, was I wrong? Probably not. But it's what was kind of what was on my mind, and so I was more likely to find it. And it's always interesting, why do you find certain emotions? Like you had an emotion that you trapped when you're 6 years old, and here I am finding it today. Why am I finding it today? Why did the subconscious mind pick that one to release? A lot of times it's because something triggered it. Because
might be sick of it.
yeah, might be sick of it. You might have felt something similar, or something reminded you of it, and that kind of brought it to the surface. So
Probably nobody ever asked me for it.
yeah. So anyway, if you have to keep yourself, if you're doing this work on somebody else, you have to clear your mind as much as possible, calm down, be at peace as much as possible, because your feelings will come through, and their feelings will come through. Okay. Shielding. She was reading my mind here. Okay, so shielding. Okay, so let's have you stand up here. Okay, this is in the body code, and this is very helpful for those who are doing this work. So what I'll do is I usually have her laying on the table, but just in the body code, this is how we do it. Say, put a shield around you. It covers you completely. It lets positive energy in and keeps negative energy out. So again, we're just using the magnet to focus our intention to put the shielding. Okay, that's good. You can sit down.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so the shielding can come down. So what Dr. Nelson says is that every morning or right before a session, you say the magic words, shields up. So just like Star Trek, just shields up. It's just a reminder to get that shielding up. There's other ways. In some energy techniques, they talk about going from the pubic bone up to the chin. You go upward like this, kind of like zipping yourself up. And so this shielding does help you to not absorb emotions. Now, remember that I told you about the young girl I was treating with the panic in her thyroid? We found out where that came from. A lot of times you don't know where a trapped emotion comes from. This was not inherited, but it was picked up from her mother in the womb. Because a baby can easily pick up trapped emotions in the womb because the baby is in such close contact with the mother. So what had happened is her mother, the previous pregnant, had entered in a miscarriage. And so then all through the pregnancy, she had panic attacks. Always panic, panic, panic. And so when the baby was born, the baby automatically had panic. And panic tends to migrate to the thyroid. I've found that more commonly in the thyroid than anywhere else. It can go anywhere, and you can have other emotions in the thyroid, but panic tends to go along with the thyroid. So being in contact with somebody or being around somebody, you can pick up on their trapped emotions. That's one way that we get trapped emotions. So shielding helps, and especially when you're doing the work, you can do it. Now, if you're doing this work and you have some sensitivity to it, if you can feel the emotions a little bit, it can help you in this work because it helps to guide you what you're doing. It helps you to feel when you're successful or not. But it's a two-edged sword. The more sensitive you are, the more likely you are to be a sponge with the emotions. I constantly have to work on my shielding. And especially when I'm doing big emotions, sometimes it feels like a big, like a wave hitting me, like just practically knocked me over. It's so strong. So so the shielding is very important. Okay, now I have another handout here for you. Okay, now this is how to avoid trapping emotions. So we were talking about how to get rid of trapped emotions, but it would be helpful to know how to not trap them in the first place. Now this is the Gospel according to Dawn. So this is something that I have come up with. However, when Dr. Nelson was here, I had him read this over, and he agreed with all of it. So it's unofficially Dr. Nelson approved. Okay, so we'll go over that. Okay, so the basic principles are, and this is something that I took not only from the motion code, but from other people that I've worked with. There's other techniques that have to do with emotions. And one of these techniques that I've learned a little bit about is that they say that there's no such thing as a bad emotion. The emotion is the messenger. And so you don't shoot the messenger. It's just, it is what it is. And so, first of all, you have to take responsibility for the emotion. You recognize that you create the emotion. Can anybody make you mad?
Only if I allow them to.
Right. It's like Eleanor Roosevelt once said that no one can offend you without your permission. You know, it's like no one can make you feel a certain way. I can't reach into your brain and turn a knob and make you feel a certain way. I can put in the input and then you decide what to do with it. But you have to make sure you understand that you are the source of the emotion. Secondly, you have to acknowledge the emotion. Like I was saying, you know, if you're trying to be nice and Christ-like and everything, you might be not so willing to recognize things like hate and lust and things like that. So you have to at least acknowledge it. Now, we're not going to let it control us, but we have to acknowledge that it exists. So we have to understand that the subconscious mind is communicating something to us. We're feeling something because this emotion is coming from our subconscious mind, so it's like a message. So we have to acknowledge that it's there. So the step 3 is to receive the message. And so we don't necessarily want to dwell on it, but we don't want to just shut it out. We need to acknowledge that it's there. I kind of think of it like your email. You know, if you never read your email, your inbox just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But, you know, email you don't have to read, but it's good that you acknowledge it. So you read the message, say, okay, I acknowledge this, and then you can let it go. And so once you acknowledge this, okay, I understand that this person has brought up feelings within me of hatred. And so I understand that, message received, goodbye. So like I say, you don't have to dwell on it, you don't have to hang on to it, but just acknowledge it. And so then, step 4, you can choose the appropriate response. So yes, I do feel hatred, but I choose not to hate this person. I feel this hatred, I understand it. Okay, I got the message, subconscious mind, thank you very much, message received, goodbye. Now I'm going to choose to do my best to love this person. Okay, so you do want to choose an appropriate response so that you're not controlled by your emotions. Okay, so are there any questions? So I know you've asked questions along the way, but are there any other questions? Yes?
What can you expect when you release trapped emotion?
Well, I always tell people that the results of my energy work range from minimal to miraculous. I have seen miracles happen. People have been cured of things that the doctors couldn't figure out. The majority of the time when people have their trapped emotions cleared, that, like I said, they just feel a little bit lighter, a little bit happier. They might feel no change at all. So you can never really predict. I always tell people that I always shoot for miracles, but I don't guarantee miracles. I can't promise because I don't know what's going to happen. I really can't predict. And so you just never know. Yeah, it's always going to help. It always helps. So when you release a trapped emotion, it's always better than it was before. If that was the one key thing that was making it so that that part of the body couldn't be healthy, that's when we see the miracles. If it was one of 20 things, then you say, oh, well, it didn't really make much difference. But you know, it's a step in the right direction. So I know it's hard for me because like that almost sounds like a cop-out. But I can't predict. I'm honest with people. I can't predict it. I don't tell them it's going to cure all their ills, but I know it's going to help.
I noticed that, so I did maybe 3 treatments and didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like whatever, maybe it helped, maybe it didn't. But then the time that I came in and you released that chain, and then you said my spirit was out of my body, I seriously was like, oh, am I dead? What? And so you cleared a bunch of stuff, and I felt fine the next day, everything. Like 3 days later, I got a horrible, horrible migraine. And I hadn't had a migraine for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that had something to do with...
That's probably, the body adjusting to it, yeah. Yeah.
Do diseases that can be passed on genetically, or the tendency for them, is it possible they're attached to emotions that have been passed on? Like, my grandfather had Parkinson's, my dad has Parkinson's, I don't want to have Parkinson's. So is that something that I mean, does that even happen where a disease, that serious of a disease, is attached to an emotion, and that could be cleared and I could avoid the Parkinson's?
It can. It can. I don't know if you can avoid it or not.
But could something like that, could a disease be attached to the emotion?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And so you always want to ask that question. Okay. Yeah. Anything you suspect, just ask. No harm in asking. Okay, any other questions?
Is there any way that you'd be able to reconnect my brain and my limbs?
Possibly. Well, you know, there may be things with the body code and so forth that Dr. Joe's working on, and so it could help with that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Okay, you're welcome.